During my first AirTag experiment, I set out to see how effective the AirTags were at recovering lost or stolen items. To test this, I left 3 valuable objects in public, each with an AirTag attached. Those items were my bike, my keys, and my wallet. Unfortunately, my wallet was returned to me by a good Samaritan, and no one was willing to steal my bike during that first attempt. The only item which was stolen were the fake car keys, which I left on the subway. Ta-da. Those keys were taken to a city called Karlsruhe, which is over 300 kilometers away from where I live. After paying a visit to Karlsruhe in that last episode, I was able to make a connection to the AirTag, but was ultimately unable to recover the keys. Now, a lot of you slayed me in the comments for not having a precision finding capable iPhone. Fair enough. Well, to make it up to you, I got myself a second-hand iPhone 11 Pro and made a second trip back to Karlsruhe for another shot at recovering those keys. And not only that, but I continued to leave my bike outside and unlocked every day until someone finally stole the damn thing. And steal it they did. So, let's find out what happened. Before heading back to Karlsruhe, I wanted to fully understand how well precision finding works. So to test precision finding, I took my AirTag outside, taped it to this tree, and started walking backwards. The ultra wideband was giving me a measurable distance until I was about 30 meters away, or 100 feet. Now, once you go beyond 100 feet, you won't get a distance reading anymore, but what I discovered is your iPhone is actually still holding a constant connection to the AirTag's Bluetooth. You'll know this if you're still seeing this ring of pixels. But once you walk further enough away, eventually you'll get a blank screen like this. And this means that your iPhone isn't connecting with the AirTag at all. This is great to know because it means when I visit Karlsruhe, if I don't get a distance reading, but I can see the pixels, I'll know I'm in the right place. The problem with the test I've just done is that it's line of sight. And since my keys are likely inside of an apartment which has walls, floors, and other objects in between, those will all weaken the ultra wideband signal. So to test it further, I left my keys in the center of my 40 square meter flat located on the 3rd story of my apartment complex. Once I was outside and I approached my apartment, I wasn't able to pick up a signal at all. I tried walking right up to the apartment and then also walked back a bit, but still I wasn't able to pick up anything. So I tried again, this time leaving the keys on the windowsill. And believe it or not, still no connection at all. So clearly precision finding isn't nearly as effective when you're trying to locate items through walls or buildings. Regardless of those not so promising results, it was time to prepare for the trip back to Karlsruhe. Now, since my German is pretty rubbish, I thought it would be smart to bring my German friend Matthias along for the journey. So I jumped on Deutsche Bahn's website and purchased 2 super Sparpreis return tickets to Karlsruhe, which cost me almost 300 euros. What's crazy is we could have flown to Spain and back for less than half the price.
Say what?
With the tickets purchased, Matthias and I met at the Düsseldorf main station and began our journey to Karlsruhe. Upon arrival, the weather was amazing and I was feeling very optimistic. We jumped on the tram and headed east to the AirTag's location. There's the building. I'm gonna go get those keys. As we neared the apartment block, I began screen recording. And sure enough, my iPhone made a connection with the stolen keys. Now, I was only able to make this connection in a specific spot on the sidewalk. So based on the test I did earlier, I was confident I knew which apartment block my keys were in. The only problem now was trying to figure out which specific apartment they were in and on which floor. And that's where Matthias came in. After ringing a few of the apartments, we finally got a hold of someone. Matthias briefly explained the situation and asked if we could enter the courtyard. It worked, we were in. Now, I couldn't record this part because obviously no one would like being recorded on their own property. But what happened was, as we got inside, several of the residents were out chatting in the courtyard. All of them said they hadn't seen the keys whatsoever. When we explained which apartment we thought the keys might be in, they told us those neighbors were out at the moment, but they allowed me to walk up and down the stairs to see if I could pick up a signal from the outside. And I was really confident I would, but weirdly enough, I wasn't able to pick up a signal from the other side of the building at all. Really strange. At this point, Matthias and I had no choice but to thank the residents for letting us in and had to resort to plan B. So we popped into a local printing store and printed out some missing key pamphlets. We left a bunch of them in the mailbox of the apartment block we knew the keys were in, and we also planted a bunch all over the area to make sure whoever had them knew we were coming for them. Honestly, at this point, I was pretty gutted that I'd spent well over 1,000 euros trying to recover some fake car keys and was unsuccessful in doing so. So to cheer ourselves up, we popped into a local brewery and had ourselves a well-deserved schnitzel and cold German beer. As you can see, it was amazing. The meal itself made the trip worth every cent, kinda. Once I'd arrived back in Düsseldorf, I couldn't help but do one last test with precision finding. I placed my AirTags in the middle of my flat again and tried to see if I could get a signal from right outside my door. The distance from the AirTag to the entrance of my flat was no more than 6 meters or 20 feet away, and with only one wall and the door in between. Yet even from the short distance, I couldn't get a connection at all. So the fact that I was able to make a connection in Karlsruhe just goes to show how close I must have been to my keys. So what's the takeaway here? Well, although precision finding works really well at locating items within your home, it's highly ineffective when walls and doors are in between you and your AirTag. You'll need to get extremely close in order for it to work. And honestly, I think in my case, I just got really lucky, even though I didn't find the keys. Where I could see precision finding coming in handy is if you lost your keys in an open area like a field or a park. It would definitely make finding your keys a lot quicker and a lot easier. But as soon as your AirTag goes inside of someone else's property, it's unlikely you'll be able to get a reading from outside. Just something to keep in mind. Now, several days after the trip to Karlsruhe, something very interesting happened. For the first time since the keys were stolen, whoever had them decided to take them for a drive. The keys were taken to Karlsruhe Central Station. So I thought, okay, here we go. The person saw my pamphlet and now they're gonna hand it into the lost and found. But whoever had the keys just walked up and down the platform for 5 minutes and then just headed back home. Like, okay, what was the point of that? At this point, I almost feel as though the person knows I'm tracking them and is just trolling me. So obviously not the outcome we all wanted, but we came pretty close. Now, let's move on to the bike story. As I said in my intro, after failing to have my bike stolen the first time around, I decided I would leave my bike outside and unlocked every day until the damn thing was stolen. I left my bike unlocked at the park, supermarket, restaurants. No matter where I took it, it was always right where I left it. And I must say, not having to worry about locking my bike everywhere I went was so liberating. I could just walk out of my flat, jump on my bike, and take off to the supermarket without having to fidget around with locks. It was awesome, but after 11 days of doing this, reality finally kicked in and someone stole my bike. So I parked the bike here yesterday and now it's gone. Now, according to the Find My app, the last known location of the bike was just a few blocks away from where I live and was last located at 10 PM the previous night. So it had been about 12 hours since it was last located, not a good sign. But later that day, I got a second ping alert in the exact same location. So I ran like crazy to see if I could figure out where it was, and it turned out to be in some kind of gated housing community with security at the gate. So I approached the security, explained the situation, and asked if I could have a look around. They were very friendly, spoke to me in English, and even offered to escort me around to help me try find the bike. But after walking around for about 15 minutes and failing to find the bike, I had to call it quits and go home empty-handed. 2 days had passed and Find My hadn't received any more pings, so I was starting to lose hope. But the next day, I got an alert, and I could see that the bike had left the housing community and was being taken for a ride. Now, since there was only one place to enter and exit that gated housing community, I decided to go there and wait for the thief to return. While I was waiting near the gate, I received a notification from Find My informing me that my bike was about 800 meters away. 10 minutes later, and it was pinged in the exact same location again. So whoever had it must have parked it there. I was a little skeptical about leaving the area in case I missed the thief coming back, but I just couldn't help myself. So I bolted it to the new location. Important note, I didn't have my precision finding compatible iPhone yet. Once I'd arrived to where the pin was, I couldn't see my bike yet. But when I checked the Find My app, I could see my iPhone had made a connection to the AirTag. It was close by. And sure enough, I looked to my right and I could see my bike.
No way. Bam. They ditched the bike and I found it. That's insane. No way. Incredible.
It had been abandoned next to a building. Honestly, I was over the moon. I'd finally recovered a lost item, and I could say it was thanks to the AirTag. Good job, Apple. So if you were to ask me, are the AirTags effective at helping you recover lost or stolen valuables? Well, from my experience, absolutely. Now, I know I wasn't able to recover the keys in Karlsruhe, but you can't deny that the AirTag greatly increased my odds of a potential recovery. I was likely within 10 to 20 feet of my keys, and if I didn't have my AirTag, well, I wouldn't have even known that the keys were in Karlsruhe, let alone which apartment block it was in. So if you have valuables you want to protect, heck yeah, I recommend it. It works really well. Now, I'm sure a lot of you are wanting to know what happened to the AirTags which I sent to Elon Musk, Tim Cook, and North Korea. Well, that video is still in the works. Unfortunately, I can only work as fast as DHL can deliver, but I can say some very interesting stuff has been going on in the background, and I can't wait to share it with you guys. And if you haven't seen that video yet, be sure to check it out. It's pretty interesting. Thanks for watching.